Look who's back. Back again.
Well, g'day everybody. We're back here in the big city of Toronto, the economic heartland of Canada.
Jimmy's back.
The beating heart of the cannabis financial core of the hot universe. And yeah, Ed's back. James is back. Everybody's back. We're back. Where you been, Ed?
You know, I've been here. I've been doing applying my trade.
Really?
Not applying my trade. Applying my trade.
You been making any money?
Well, you know, there seems to be one that's moving along here.
Yeah, which one's that? AMX?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, AMX.
Yeah, I know. That's now they've put out a press release. Everybody knows that it has the potential to be a big.
Well, they're starting to tie the holes in, right? And I talked to Victor Cantori, the CEO, and he's got a top-notch geo who's the chairman of the company.
Let's get Victor Cantori into the studio, shall we?
Well, he's going to probably be here, but I thought maybe he would go to the core shack, okay?
Yes.
And with the geo, and maybe we could Skype them tomorrow.
Sure, that sounds good.
You know, and then let's just see what all this is. This much ado about nothing. The market cap's still only 23 million, but if it's a bona fide, you know, 1 million to 2 million ounce gold discovery in Quebec, it could have a market cap of 200 to 300 million. So
over time.
Well, the way these numbers are coming out, and again, I'm going to have lunch with the IR person tomorrow, or breakfast.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And you know her.
Yeah.
Wanda.
Oh, I haven't seen Wanda in forever.
Well, if you'd have been around that show and hung around there, you would have seen her.
Well, I was there for like 20 minutes, and, you know, we'll get to that. We have a pretty interesting show lined up today. We've got, of course, news nurse Ricky Gerwitz at 3:05. To titillate and educate.
What was that?
Titillate.
Yeah.
And then Paul Ghezzi is here. Paul Ghezzi is the CEO of Kontrol Energy.
Is Paul here live?
No, he's going to join us via Skype from around the corner, but via Skype.
Okay.
Then we've got a little segment we're calling Wacky Cannabis
How about Wacky Tobacco?
Or Alternative Headlines. Oh,
Wacky Tobacco.
Now we're calling it Alternative Headline News. There was a fourth thing there, but I didn't get to it. Whatever that was. Oh, I see. Margot M is here. She's the new CEO of Gabriella's Kitchen. New CEO? Maybe she's the old CEO.
Maybe she's just the CEO. Maybe she's just the CEO.
She's the CEO. We know that. 4 o'clock market close and chart analysis with your friend and highly educated man, Edward Milewski.
Yeah.
Jay Wilgar is going to be live in the house at 4:10. CEO of Newstrike Brands, who has, if you're looking for it on the Canada Cannabis store, it's under this, their brand is called Up Cannabis. Up Cannabis. So, Ed, I was in Vancouver for a couple days.
And you're now you suggested on the Skype that it was well attended.
Vancouver's always well attended.
No, the show, the Adelaide, not the Adelaide.
You know what? We'll come back to that after
Cambridge
the news.
Show. Cambridge
Let's put
show. Okay.
Ricky Gerwitz in here because I lost track of time due to the heavy jet.
Thanks, James, and here are the headlines moving markets today. Aphria Inc. has confirmed that Green Growth Brands Inc. has begun an unsolicited takeover bid to acquire all of the outstanding common shares of the company, other than the common shares of the company owned by GGB or its affiliates. The offer provides Aphria shareholders with 1.5714 common shares of Green Growth for each Aphria share, including Aphria's shares that may become issued outstanding after the date hereof, but prior to 5 p.m. on May 9th, 2019. Aphria is advising shareholders to take no action on the offer until Aphria's board of directors has made a formal recommendation to shareholders. The independent committee of Aphria directors will consider it with its advisors before making a formal recommendation to Aphria's board of directors. Shareholders will be notified of any recommendation of the board of directors through a news release and director's circular in accordance with applicable securities law. And shareholders are also encouraged to visit aphriafuture.ca for more information. OrganiGram Holdings Inc. announced it has made changes to its compassionate care model by developing OrganiCare, a program designed to improve access to medical cannabis for low-income patients. Effective immediately, patients who earn an annual income of less than $35,000 qualify for OrganiCare, which offers a 30% price reduction on all dried cannabis products and oils. Slang Worldwide Inc. has received conditional approval from the CSE for the listing of its common shares. It expects the listing to start trading on the CSE under the stock symbol SLNG at market open on or about January 29, 2019. Listing is subject to the company fulfilling all the listing requirements of the CSE. HEMCO Food and Fiber Inc. announced a $1.49 million loss in their Q1 2019 results for the period ending November 30th, 2018. Highlights of their report include a 47% revenue increase in the first quarter of 2019 compared to the same period in fiscal 2018, and a 175% sequential increase over the previous quarter. The company is progressing with the commissioning of its new 56,000 square foot, 2.88 million kilogram per year hemp seed processing facility in Nisku, Alberta. And that's your news for today.
Yeah, that whole hemp trade is getting very quiet, don't you think, Edward?
What about the weird halt on Aphria and GGB?
Weird halt?
Well, not a weird halt, but
why is it weird?
Was that? I guess they had to halt it for that, right? But it wasn't like there was.
It would be highly irregular not to halt the stock.
But doesn't it sound like there's been a bit of fallout there between this deal, like?
I don't know. Anything that we come up with here is speculation.
Yeah,
here's what I'm sensing from my my spider senses in the market. I think there's some. I think there's a little bit of seismic disturbance within the Aphria managerial framework. Thus, that resulted in Vic and Cole stepping down. Like, unless that's part of an orchestrated move to pave the way for GBB, which would then presuppose the speculation that, well, if they're paving the way for a new management team, then it's not really an unsolicited bid entirely, is it? And if you look at some of the cross-pollination with the financings of GBB prior to going public during its xanthic gum phase, one might conclude, without being too speculative, that there was in fact a bit of a relationship there, pre-existing the unsolicited arm's length bid. So, I don't know. If the fix is in, which, sometimes there's a lot of negotiation going on behind the scene and say, look, you guys raise your bid to X, we'll drop these conditions, but we're going to put these ones on. Maybe that's happening behind the scenes. And that's why, Aphria puts out a standstill press release, but which is also customary. But who knows? I mean, Vic has stopped contributing to our assessment, and they only do the mainstream news where any risk of a relevant question is zero.
Right.
So whatever. We're just going to have to speculate and conjecture and see where the cards fall when they fly. But I don't know. I see a lot of commentary in the social media space.
People don't want this to happen, do they?
Well, Aphria shareholders of long-suffering duration are basically looking at this as a mercy killing, and they don't want a mercy killing. They think they should be able to do much better and expect a better price for their, stock was at $20 once. Why wouldn't it be again? And the Green Growth Brands side of things, well, it's a coup de grace. It's like
coup de grace.
Coup de grace.
Coup de grace.
Coup de grace. You de grace.
I'm de grace.
You de grace.
You de grace.
I'm de grace. Anyways, it's just the whole transaction is being conducted in a manner that does not properly. There's some poorly engineered messaging to the market. Put it that way. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But I think that the transaction is going to happen because there's desire on both sides, and if it's desire on both sides, it's just a matter of time till they find the right balance. Unless a third party steps in and says, you know what, we'll sweeten the offer, and then it's like the whole thing is upset because now you got an outsider coming in.
Why don't you get the outsider to buy them both? That'll shut everybody up.
Yeah, I don't think you could really. I mean, why would you buy Green Growth Brands at this point? I mean, there's nothing in it except Peter Horvath and his team, and I don't think they're necessarily.
So they're really trying to break into the big leagues quickly.
I think they're trying to capitalize on the cannabis revolution, and they want to do it their own way with their own company. So I don't think Green Growth Brands is any way, shape, or form at this point on the block. unless, you know. Anyways, that's all speculation. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. You know, if Aphria, you know, suddenly found itself of extreme accumulated interest in the market, then, you know, price could go way above 12, 11 bucks, and that's it. That deal is done, and Green Growth is going to have to sweeten the pot substantially. So if I was on the Aphria side, I'd be, you know, working with my financial messaging service providers to induce a, you know, uptick in the liquidity.
Yeah.
However,
okay. Well, always lots going on.
Yeah.
Do you know yesterday was the first down day on the S&P, the first red candle. They had 11 previous green ones, and yesterday was a red one.
Right.
Just saying.
Okay, pull up a chart of the S&P, Ed.
Okay.
Because the S&P dove in the morning.
Yes.
And
I said yes.
And now it's sort of come back and like it's noodling along sideways.
Okay.
But it's down 1.68, which is nothing.
That's nothing. But I'm talking about yesterday. Yesterday was a little more than
yesterday.
nothing.
Yeah, yesterday it went from well, it opened high. It opened high at 26.71, dropped as low as 26.21, and then closed the day up 26.52.
Yeah, it'd be nice if I can get this thing going.
Yeah, you having a hard time there, Ed?
Yeah. Why?
You know, as I was saying, I was in Vancouver, and we were talking about the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference remotely. And I was quite pleased to note that the conference floor itself was kind of busy.
Yeah, you said that.
And so we were... I was just watching the B-roll. It stopped suddenly.
Okay.
And yeah, so this is the conference right now on the screen, and look how busy it is. This is at 4 o'clock at the end of the second day. I mean, it's not jam-packed, but are you looking at that? No, you're not.
No, I'm trying to get up the chart that you wanted. Okay, just a minute. There we go.
Anyways, we've moved beyond that now, Ed.
Okay.
And this is me leaving the conference. So you missed it, but it was pretty busy, and which is kind of interesting.
Did I miss much? Did I miss much?
Because I compressed the timeline really fast, but it was quite busy. So
did you just scan
the Vancouver?
You obviously scanned it when it was closed.
No, it wasn't closed.
Oh. It just seemed there was lots of...
Well, that was out in the foyer.
Oh, the foyer.
Anyways, and then I was, yesterday I went to the Canaccord Genuity Investor Day at the Waterfront Hotel. And this was almost all cannabis. There were a few companies there that weren't cannabis, but you know, lots of deal making going on, as you can see.
I see you're interested in the shirts they wear.
I saw, so there's Mark Lacamacher. He's the VP IR for Aurora, making the case for Aurora's non-dilutive financing that they just did for $300 million, 5.5% interest, which it was amazing to me how many people don't seem to understand that the only way that's going to convert into more shares is if that's the better strategy on the anniversary date in 2024. You know, 2024, 23 countries. They're going to be able to pay back $250 million one-time balloon payment. I don't see a problem with that. And here's the funny thing: it's like if the better strategy is to pay off the debt in shares, then probably the cannabis market isn't going the way we thought it was going to go, anyways.
Well, who's included in we?
Weed?
We are in weed, and so is Ed. We and Ed are weed.
But we are not in Ed or weed.
No, we are in Ed, and Ed is in weed.
We are not in weed.
We and Ed is weed.
But I'm not in weed.
We and Ed is weed. So why would you grow weed when you could just bring some we over, put Ed in the picture, and you got weed?
Well, because I don't think that
you can't smoke that
weed is good. Can't smoke this. Do do do. Calimus in town. All right, enough of that.
Okay. I want to get this chart. I want to get this chart up here.
What do you got? What kind of chart? You're having a hard time with your charts
not
there.
not today. Look at this. It's just a little slow.
A little slow.
Weed.
A little too much weed. Are you high right now?
No, sir. No, I'm on the wagon again.
What?
Yeah.
Good.
When did I just say? When did you go on?
Whoa. now you're feeding me the questions. Is that it? Since when have you been on the wagon?
Ask me when I started. Wait a minute.
Hey, Ed. How long have you been on the wagon?
Oh, funny you should ask. I went on the wagon officially.
Yes.
When I took my last drink on Monday night, which was pretty late. I've been on the wagon since. So today's already Wednesday. So I'm getting some nice blue sky out there. You know, not.
You're seeing blue sky. Have you looked at the sky? The sky is not blue.
Blue sky.
You could do a great Willie Nelson impersonation.
Oh yeah, with a little.
But you got to get that
little reefer.
Anyways, enough of this tomfoolery. Let's go back to the Ghezzi, chart. Should we? CEO of Kontrol Energy. He's joining us right now, live from.
There's Paul.
3 blocks away, 4 blocks away. Where are you, Paul?
Sporting a nice beard.
I'm actually
very stylish.
Way up north.
You're where? Sorry.
Way up north, about an hour from the city.
Oh, okay, great. Kontrol Energy has been quite the story. I mean, we've been following it for a number of years. Give us a quick update. What is Kontrol Energy all about, Paul?
Sure. So as I was on your show last time, we talked about the energy market that we serve is the building market, which in North America represents approximately $240 billion of annual energy spend USD, and about 30% of that spend is lost to inefficiency. Globally, it's a much larger market, of course, and the trend is as the rural population, moves to cities. Globally, within about a decade, cities are going to consume about half the world's energy production. So when you think about that as a market size that we're operating in, it's a high growth market, growing much faster than the global economy. And we provide energy technologies and solutions in that market to conserve energy and reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
Wow. Great. Okay, so how has the business been growing in the last couple of quarters?
So we are now on a 16 million run rate annualized revenue, and that's up from 1.6 million in 2016. Some of that, about 80% of that has been through acquisition and about 20% organic. The target for this year is to end the year at 32 million of run rate. With a few tuck-in acquisitions and strong organic growth.
Sure. January 16th, you announced you purchased the IP and patents of Dimax Controls Canada and rebranded the energy software technology as Kontrol Smart Site. So using that as an example, tell me how you use your acquisition strategy to build accretively value for the shareholders of your company.
Sure. So if you recall, I think it was midway through the year last year, we acquired the operating assets of a company called MCW Dimax. So after running them for about 6 months, we felt it was time to pull the trigger on the technology because we see some rapid acceleration. So they're operating in 200 buildings, roughly 20 million square feet. It's a software as a service. And we want to grow that and also add to the technology. So what we did was we separated the transaction. It was a way for us to manage risk. And now that we feel very confident in that we can grow that technology business, we've acquired the patents. And so now that is Smart Site as a rebrand. We also own a technology called Smart Suite. And essentially, think of a building from the suite level to the grid. We can manage commercially each suite, we can manage the building, and we can manage to the grid. So it increases our opportunity to add value and technology.
Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting. What's the total market size for Kontrol Energy that you're going after in North America?
So we consider that roughly 240 billion of annual spend. So that gives you a sense of the size and the scale. In our market, you've got large integrated OEMs, integrated players. I use an example of Honeywell, Schneider, Siemens. They're all playing in the space, and we've heard the term digitizing energy. And that's something that we do at Kontrol. So we are a small but quickly growing player. And our 5-year strat plan is to get to 100 million of revenue run rate. We'd like to do that through acquisition by about 65 to 70%, and the rest through organic growth. And in our, if you think about our sector with some of the large players in our space, as you've seen in the cannabis sector, at about 100 million of revenue, you become very accretive to the billion-dollar revenue organization or $2 billion revenue. So I think as we grow and we put revenue on the board with good margins, we become a takeout candidate at some point.
You bet. And so who would be the logical taker-outer?
So we've been having what we call strategic conversations, with interested players. And typically what we're finding is a utility, an integrated energy provider, someone who's already in the sector. So I think Siemens and Schneider have done some recent acquisitions in the U.S., which looks similar to Kontrol. So I wouldn't say those two would be acquiring us, but as an example, there's a roll-up strategy for the large integrated players because they've got very low growth rates. They're growing at 1% to 2% a year. We're growing very quickly. So through an acquisition, we become highly accretive. But the magic number for us is, getting north of 75 million revenue run rate, approaching that 100 million, you become very attractive.
Sure. So you're talking about essentially doubling your run rate over last year to 32 million. What does your gross margin, EBITDA, et cetera, all of those metrics look like in that scenario?
So typically we're running about 60% gross margin through a combination of technology, equipment, and service. And EBITDA, we're looking at 11 to 12% on the bottom line. The caveat to that, of course, is as you're growing that quickly, sometimes there's pressure on your EBITDA because you're adding acquisitions. And so, we would like to add, I would say, 2 tuck-in acquisitions this year, maybe 3, and accelerate the organic growth to north of 20%. And that should give us a strong bottom line.
Sure. The other incumbents that you mentioned, the Siemens, et cetera, who are the larger companies that might be interested in acquiring you, do you compete with them in the Canadian or the North American market?
Great question. So what we find is we operate in what's called the retrofit market, which is taking an existing building and making it smarter, more energy efficient, less consumption of energy. And typically what we find is the large integrated players, the OEMs, are more focused on new build. And in the retrofit market, it's a highly fragmented market with a number of small players. That's part of our consolidation and roll-up strategy. And as we continue to grow, you get on the radar of the larger players. So we don't see large integrated energy companies and OEMs in the retrofit market other than supplying equipment. But as we grow, we'll bump into them probably likely more. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So what are the big catalysts in 2019, Paul, that you think will drive more value into the company, apart from the tuck-in acquisitions that we've already discussed?
That's a great question. So there's the business catalyst and the stock catalyst, which are really two different things in my experience in small cap Canada. So at the business side, I think we've been growing really well. The year-over-year growth rates have been fantastic. So we've got a couple more acquisitions, and then we add that organic growth. I think on the stock catalyst, while CEOs should never predict stock prices, the feeling in Canada is if there's an outside catalyst, if there's some kind of large customer win or some event that's validating what you're doing, it creates momentum in the share price, which in Canada, small caps can be disconnected. Their business and their share price can often be disconnected. And we're not the only ones that may be experiencing that. So I would say what we're focused on is driving the business, growing the value, but also looking at some significant customer wins that are branded wins, so name brand recognition, and pulling those two things together.
Sounds exciting, Paul. Well, we're going to continue to follow the story closely. Thanks very much for joining us today.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
When was the first time we talked to Paul Ghezzi?
Were you in that meeting? You were in that meeting.
Yes, at Foster. Yeah. Foster's in Association.
Yeah, we were drinking Foster's that day.
We were drinking Foster's, mate. No, we weren't. We weren't drinking Foster's.
I thought you said
Foster's and Associates.
You said, you'll put some shrimp on the bobby, and I'll pour us a couple of Foster's.
Clearly, we got work to do on our Australian accents.
Well, I certainly do.
Yeah.
No, you're pretty good, actually. You had
yeah, not bad, mate.
Fraser. Fraser was laughing.
You know how you get good with an Australian accent?
How's it?
You sleep with them. During which there's not a lot of sleep going on.
Yeah. Well, I think when you look at the chart of the venture index.
Yes.
To his point about like the small cap space in Canada has been tough. Like he's done.
Now, is this X of cannabis or including cannabis?
Well, I'd have to say
cannabis is in a world of its own.
X of cannabis.
X of cannabis.
X.
I mean, the people in the cannabis space.
Not coom, but X.
Kumbaya.
Like, is it coom dividend or X dividend?
Nobody knows what the hell you're talking about, including me.
Well, no. Am I buying the stock today? Coom dividend or X dividend?
And what is the difference?
The difference is when
is that a Latin term?
It means with. Coom means with,
and
X means without.
Oh.
With or without the dividend.
Oh, okay.
So like bankers, like a lot of people that have bank stocks, they buy them and they reinvest the dividends, instead of taking a cash dividend.
Really?
So they call up and say, hey, I wouldn't mind buying some Royal Bank today. Now, as a young broker, they'd say, could you let me know if am I buying the stock coom dividend or X dividend? So then you have to go look at the date, you have to figure it out because you used to settle 5 days back then, right? And what's the X date? So the X date such and such, so therefore I'm still buying it coom dividend because you get the dividend.
Wow.
But then the stock drops by the amount of the dividend that day, right?
Banking stocks are so much more exciting than cannabis stocks. By the sound
boy,
of
we used to have fun buying those bank stocks. Oh.
Well, speaking of cannabis stocks, because, arguably, theoretically, that's where our area of expertise lies. In fact, we just received a package of seven premium flower samples. They're 3.5 gram packages from the Ontario Cannabis Store.
Wait a minute, I ordered those. I wanted them to go right to my house.
No, well, they have to go to your house. You can't order them to an office. So I ordered 7, and so we are going to...
What was the magic with 7? 1 a day?
No. 7 was just, I don't know why I kept...
7.
Oh, you know what it was? So the maximum you're allowed to buy is 30 grams at any one session.
7 times 3.5.
I'm going to make sure that this machine, whatever routine is working in the background, is good with the math. So I thought I'm going to go right up against 30 grams. So 7 times 3.5 grams is 28 grams-ish. Right. Tim Holtby from we don't know where. He's been looking into ETFs a bit closer and came across Evolve Marijuana ETF, Seed. Any opinions on that? Would love a quick comparison to. Yeah,
you know what? I actually ran into a fellow a few weeks ago, coincidentally, and he is involved with that company, so we could have him on the show. No, the ETF company.
HMMJ.
No, the Evolve ETF.
Evolve.
Seed.
Yeah, no, we've had him on the show.
No, not this guy.
Well, he's obviously not the CEO.
Oh, okay.
Typically,
this is a big organization.
True.
Yeah.
Is he like a CFO?
Marketing guy.
A marketing guy, yeah.
Right, marketing guy.
That's what we want on as marketing guys, Ed, because we're a marketing platform.
Yeah, we're promo boys.
No, we CEOs only. Anyways, so to answer that question, we had the CEO of Evolve ETFs on here recently, and he'll be back soon, just as a result of that request. Okay. In the meantime, we don't really have the ability to comment on an ETF in terms of its investment thesis, because an ETF is for people with no investment thesis, which
but you buy an ETF if you want to get a basket.
A basket?
Yeah.
Like a basket case?
Yeah,
you get
a case of baskets.
A case of baskets?
Yeah.
Implying more than one basket in the case.
Yeah.
So like, if I was to say, Ed, show me a basket case, what would you show me?
I put a picture of me.
I thought you were going to pick me.
Well, you know what? Look, I'm smart enough to know where my bread is buttered.
Oh, jeez.
Okay. What? Okay. Well, now that I got the chart system working, I did have a chart of KNR. KNR is up here.
KNR. Well, let's take a look at
Kontrol Energy.
Paul's Look at that spike. Ed.
I got to tell you, this is a 2-year chart, and you know we've got the big. This is classic. Whoop. Jesus.
You're flickering, Ed. You're flickering. Are you in heat?
Yeah. Real big heat.
Yeah.
This is what you would call you got the classic spike here.
Yeah.
And look at this. Look at this now.
Whoa.
What does that look like?
Well, so I guess that's where he's saying where the market does not necessarily reflect the catalyst in the business.
Well, you know what? This company's only getting better and better, but we did have a speculative blow-off in it, and it sold right back down. Major support right along here.
What was that low price at the bottom of that last
right in here?
Dip, yeah.
About 52 right 52. In here.
Okay, so there's the other problem. If the thing trades within a range and you put up a big chart, it can make small dips look like giant dips.
Yeah, and this is, let's take a look at...
So what was the range in that big dip? Like, so it's like there was a massive blow off there, but that was 2 years ago. I was obviously 4 months plus a day after some financing.
You know, I really think Paul is very bright, and you know, what you need this thing is turning up. If it starts to turn up, not turnip.
Turn up.
Not carrot.
Turn up.
Turn up.
Man. So what's your net takeaway, Ed? Are you a buyer of Kontrol Energy today at this price?
I think there's very little risk. I think the only problem is, and this is just something Paul would agree with, is that the market for small caps, unless you get to that critical mass,
yeah,
like, and we're talking maybe like 75 million revenue, that's Paul's words, not mine.
Right.
Then people tend to say, well, you know, you're still running. You know, he wants to run at a 32. Well, he's close. So if he can do that again, then he's at 64.
Yeah.
And if he does it again, he's at
120.
8. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, look, he's doing a great job. I think the Financial Post, when they rate these companies, he's rated as one of the fastest growing companies in his market cap genre. Okay.
Now, getting back to cannabis stocks, just for a moment,
What do you want to look at?
You know what I wanted to look at was let's look at what Aphria and Green Growth are doing.
APHA. This is
GABY, CNSX.
I can only do one at a time.
What? You don't know how to put up a comparative matrix in a single chart?
Oh boy, I got to tell you.
What's the deal?
Here's what I don't like.
What don't you like, Ed?
Here's what I don't like. I don't like. Here we go. This is a spike up, spike down.
Hey, look who. No, don't look, Ed.
And here, and here. Okay. Look at this. This looks like I could draw maybe my dog's face in here, like a Doberman pincer.
Looks like you've got mountains.
There's an ear. There's the other ear.
Don't tell me, Ed. Is that the mountains in the lake formation? It looks like Lake Louise.
Look at.
We are very serious analysts, technical analysts
just a minute. And I put a little cigar in there. There you go. That's his tongue.
Okay.
What do you call this?
Now
this thing's sort of getting to be kind of a dog. No offense, sir, but we're just having a little fun today.
So what
I miss
stock
my
was
buddy.
that,
I miss
Ed?
my buddy. That's Aphria. It's either the Aphria or it's my Doberman pincer.
Okay, so what are you seeing? Is the stock of either of these companies giving you any indication of the sentiment?
Okay, that's this thing that I know. You got to get this thing back over here. Jeez, I did it again. You got to keep reminding yourself to revert back.
Yeah,
I want to revert.
On rebel.
Okay, so the problem here is,
yes,
we're below this level here. Okay?
Yes,
not by much, and it's trying here, but there's that gap there. We've talked about the gap.
Okay, well, tell you what, Ed, I want to take a look at a feature called on the future of soybeans. No. Now, what does the future of soybeans have to do with cannabis? Well, it goes along the line of your logic, your logical reasoning the other day when Ed says to me, you know, grass, we're talking about grass. I said, yeah, we're talking about grass. And Ed says, you know, when you think about it, cows eat grass, And geese eat grass. He says, but they don't look anything alike.
And that's all they eat.
And that's all they eat.
That's all they eat. Well, they try. Remember the craze with the cow-fed or the corn-fed beef?
Corn-fed corned beef.
No, that's not that kind of corn.
I just explained that to Alan the other night. He's like, oh, that's corned beef. I'm like, no, that's not corned beef.
But do you know that the cow's stomach isn't built to digest corn? It's total bullshit. It gives them gas, big gas. Stand behind a cow sometime that's been eating corn. Ooh, I'll tell you.
Well, actually, I used to chase cows around on an old Alice Chalmers tractor in Manitoba.
Did you try and catch their tail?
No. I used to like to get them stampeding. I thought that was hilarious.
Is that a hoof mark you got?
And then they'd start running like crazy, and then they lift up their tail and start shitting while they ran. And next thing you know
why they do that? You know why they do that? You know why they do that?
Yeah, to get the guy from the tractor to stop chasing them.
No. It's to lighten up the load so they can run faster.
Well, they did outrun me. In fact, I was blinded by poo, so I had to slow down and wipe the shit out of my face.
Did you notice that as they shift, they start picking up speed?
Oh boy!
It's like a rocket ship.
Okay,
blasting out gas.
So tomorrow we're going to a farm. We're going to put Ed's theory to the test.
To the taste.
First of all,
no taste.
First, the prompter's in a color I cannot read it. Okay, so
oh yeah, that's good.
Let's take it.
You're not color. Are you colorblind by any chance? I can't read. How can you read that?
Anyways, coming up this spring, Ed and I are going to go visit a farm, and we're going to test out whether, in fact, do cows defecate when chased in order to lighten
that cowlick up there? Like, Jesus.
Or do
I'm going to do the same.
And do cows actually run faster after in the process? Now, changing the topic completely.
Here we go. Oh.
I'd like to welcome now our guest, CEO of Gabriella's Kitchen, Margot McAuliffe is here. Margot, welcome.
Thank you. Interesting conversation.
Yeah, well, we do go off on tangents sometimes.
A little levity never hurt.
Yeah, they're not necessarily relevant to the cause at hand. Okay, Margot, let's start off. Give us like a 20-second elevator pitch on what Gabriella's Kitchen does. I know we've had you on before, but most of our viewers are new every time, or a lot of them are.
So we are a cannabis wellness company. We have a number of different brands, edibles, supplements, nutraceuticals, oils, etc. And we also have a line of uninfused products that are in the mainstream market. So we started out life as a wellness company focusing on food, and we're expanding into topicals, oils, nutraceuticals, tinctures, etc.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, well, do you sell your products mostly in the U.S. market or in Canada?
We sell mostly in the U.S. market. We have a manufacturing facility and a distribution company, so we hold both a manufacturing license and a distribution license in the state of California. And we sell most of our products, all of our infused products, all of our THC infused products are currently sold in California. And our non-infused products are sold throughout the United States. We have a little bit of a market in Canada, but we're primarily U.S. focused.
I see. And is your plan to stay U.S. focused, or do you have a plan to expand as laws permit, or what exactly is your strategy for the growth of the company?
We have global domination in mind. So we want to expand into markets as appropriate and as they are coming online. And our goal is to move into Canada this year. We have an interest in the other states in the U.S., but they're secondary markets for us because they're smaller markets. And you might know that in the U.S., you have to manufacture in the state in which you are selling. So we own our infrastructure in California because that's the largest and most important cannabis market in the world. It's also a very important wellness market. But in the other states that are adult legal, the population base is much smaller. So the economics of owning our own infrastructure, i.e. manufacturing in particular, doesn't make as much economic sense. So we'll probably enter into license arrangements in those states, but they're secondary markets. So we'll consider our strategy in due course in those markets.
Sure. I've been down to California quite a bit this last year investigating the cannabis market there, and it's the one commonality I find with all of the outlets, the dispensaries that exist, is that there's a huge selection of various products relative to what's available in Canada, where we can't actually even get edibles yet. How does a company like Gabriella's Kitchen differentiate itself from the continuously emerging array of edible products out there?
So our products are all science-based. So the oil plant, which is our manufacturing company that we acquired, actually uses different technology than other companies do. It's a proprietary technology that they use. They make very high grade, very clean oil extracted from cannabis, and that's the basis of the oil that we use in our edibles, as well as in our tinctures and concentrates and in our other products. We're also very wellness focused, so all of our ingredients tend to be focused on the wellness market. So even for example, we launched a line of very high quality cooking oils, olive oil, truffle oil, garlic oil, etc., and those are infused with CBD and THC. And it's a very high quality product. It's a premium product. We're not in the space so much to compete with the gummy bears and those lower end candy companies. We're really looking to normalize cannabis consumption. So we want consumers to be able to control their dosing. Hence, we're focused on, butters, oils, spreads, sauces, and things like that. And we use very high quality premium products focused on wellness. So this is people who consume our products are interested in using cannabis to feel good and to be healthy. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you have cannabis products that have THC as an active ingredient that do not get you high because the THCA has not been converted into THC Delta 9 during your process? I've heard that there's quite a high demand for THC products but where the THC is not activated, so it doesn't get you high. Is that something that you guys have?
We don't actually sell products like that yet, but we are very interested in doing so. So products like that would be products that you would not heat. So the products themselves, THCA has to be decarboxylated before it actually becomes psychoactive and becomes THC. So in the heating process of extracting the cannabis oil, at present we decarboxylate the THCA. So it is psychoactive in our ingredients at this point. We are interested in looking for ways that we can actually use THCA, which is not decarboxylated. So it's really the raw oil. It's almost like a cold pressed oil. So we're working on ways that we can actually extract that kind of oil and use it in our products.
Mm-hmm. Oh, great. Okay, so what now is your best-selling product?
I don't know the answer to that. We have a variety of different products. Our tinctures are very good selling products. The quality of the tinctures is very high quality. They actually are featured in a film called We the People. It's a film about how 5 families over the course of 5 years used cannabis to treat cancer that their children were suffering. And Mara Gordon, who's the founder of the oil plant, who's our chief research officer, he's featured in that documentary. So those oils are really high quality oils, and they're very popular. Our flour is also Sonoma. We brand a line of flour under the Sonoma Pacific brand. It's also very popular. We use Appalachian Farms in Northern California in the Sonoma Valley, and they make very high quality, very popular, very enjoyable flour that people can consume through smoking.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Finally, Michelle, why don't we talk about Margot, what are the big catalysts that are going to happen for your company that will drive big shareholder value into it in 2019?
Well, CBD in the mainstream market is a really big part of our strategy. And I frankly think it's the biggest opportunity for us in the cannabis space. We are now working with our retail customers, our retail partners. We're in 3,400 retail locations with uninfused products. So we have relationships with a number of very well-known, very reputable, very respected brands across the United States, including Sprouts and Vaughn's and Bristol Farms and some other very well-known natural and organic health food stores. And they're all interested in CBD. Consumers are really pushing retailers into bringing on CBD products. And we see that as the next step, and we're embracing that wholeheartedly with products that we are developing, have developed, are acquiring to get into that mainstream consumer channel.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that's great, Margot. We're going to leave it there for now. I'm going to come back to you soon. Best of luck. It sounds like you're knocking it out of the park, and I can't wait to see your products in Canada. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Look forward to it as well. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Next up, are you ready? The great Russian bear, Dmitry Zaytsev, is here. Dmitry, welcome back.
Nice to see you, James.
You too. That's so weird. Just walk you on the set while I'm talking to Margot there. I can't say hello. I can't shake your hand. Nothing.
Tight schedule today.
Tight schedule. Is that what it is? I guess, yes. So we were going to talk about, you've been following very closely the potential merger. I think we're going to restrict the conversation to the potential merger of Aphria and Green Growth Brands, acquisition of Aphria by Green Growth Brands in an all-stock deal. And so they've made an announcement today where Aphria is positioning itself as, at least management is advising its shareholders not to do anything. And Green Growth Brands has more or less officially made official its offer, which remains inadequate relative to what was said by Aphria management previously. What is your take on all of this?
Yeah, so looking through all the filings, as you know, I've been following a lot of these, I guess, this little dog and pony show for a while. And I think this was just Green Growth Brands, their official sort of offer submission. Previously, they were just talking about it. This is the official submission that they talked about in December. So I've been digging into a bunch of information on this, and with a friend of mine, he just wanted to shout out Eric, helped me out a little bit here in the due diligence process. But we found some interesting, I guess, irregularities in terms of the structure of Green Growth Brands and the interrelationship between Aphria and a couple of key players, I guess you could say.
Sounds very intriguing. Now, so when you say relationships, are you implying that there was a relationship prior to the announcement of the acquisition?
Yeah, absolutely. And a relationship not just a month or two, this goes back years, actually.
Huh.
And I've actually brought a little bit of a deck to walk you through, maybe 7 or so slides that show some interesting things.
All right, let's do it.
Right, so this is from the offer. So this is the official offer. So first of all, just talking about the offer, it's very rare to have a company offer shares above its market price and at a discount to the current valuation. I've never seen, or it's probably so rare that it's 1% of occurrences. So this is right off the bat is a suspicious sort of thing.
So you mean with Green Growth saying we're going to take you out and our stock is going to be $7 a share by then, even though it's only $4.25 now?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And doing a financing at a higher price, a significantly higher premium, that's very rare. But so going back to this actual slide deck, you can see that they secured a $150 million investment from ALJ, it's called, and Green Growth has agreed to pay the investor a commitment fee equal to $7.5 million, payable by issuing proportionate voting shares to the investor. So in essence, they've said they've locked up $150 million, but they have this little covenant where they're paying them if the deal doesn't go through, which is very, very unorthodox, I guess you could say. So that got me kind of thinking. So I looked into ALJ's, and if you just keep it on the slide deck, honestly, they actually share the exact same office, these ALJ's guys. This top thing is from the actual press release, and then this is from Green Growth Brands' website. They actually share the same address, which is very interesting. So a company that is going to be the key investor for $150 million is sharing the same address as the company they're investing in. Okay.
So you mean, when you say the same address, do you mean like in the same building, or is it like in the actual same suite in the same building?
It's identical. It's literally identical. It's the same suite, but it's the same building. I think it's a different suite, but it's in the exact same building. And 150 million, that's a little, in Ohio, I think that's a little suspect.
Huh. So then, I mean, okay, let's step back from this.
Sure.
Who is potentially hurt by a closer relationship than is actually disclosed?
Well, I think it's one of those things we're going to see later on, where I guess having a showing of this acquisition, hostile takeover sort of thing, when it's actually not, when it's actually a lot more friendly, and when executives, for example, I know Vic was on the board of Green Acres on their website. They removed that. There's a lot of sort of a lack of transparency, which to me, as an investor, potential investor, is very concerning. And so for me, I'd rather, cannabis is already a high-risk investment, and so I'd rather see a very clear path and a very clean structure with a lot of these things. So just going further, All Jays, so the same company that's doing the 150 million acquisition or investment, they also purchased the shell, which Green Growth Brands was RTO'd into, and they actually gained a pretty sizable share position already, even before this investment. So if you look on Google or any other filings, All Jays, there's no mention of it doing any other financings, doing any other kinds of investments before this November 12th press release. So to me, I did some more digging. That's what we do. We do digging. And so if you pull up the next slide, you see the top two investors currently, so going back to what I said, is All Jays, which represents about 20%, and Green Acre Opportunities Corp, which is an Aphria subsidiary. And together they make up 30% of the actual ownership structure. And so you say, okay. So this is just showing the next slide here that the group GA Opportunities this is on their MD&A, of Aphria's MD&A.
Right.
You can find it on every quarterly filing. It's there. They talk about all the stuff they do. This is just to show you that they're related, obviously. Next, so we actually looked into this, and so
wait a sec. Aphria already owns Green Growth Brands.
So they own a 10% stake through their GA Opportunities.
Oh.
So they already own 10% of it. So it's kind of strange to have them own a subsidiary that then is taking them over in a hostile bid. So going further to the next step, I'm sorry I'm taking the soapbox here, but we want to.
I'm impressed with the depth of your research here, by all means.
Yeah, and so interestingly, the one thing I did find in terms of filings, All J's Green Space, when it was incorporated in Ohio or in an LLC there was an agent, and his name is Mr. Friedman, and we found him on LinkedIn, and it turns out he's part of the Schottstein Property Group.
Huh. So it sounds to me like you're concluding that there's a great deal of interconnectivity that is not necessarily properly disclosed, that might cause one to question the legitimacy of some of the disclosures representing that this is a unsolicited bid and a arm's length transaction, and so that's pretty serious stuff and interesting. But certainly the cannabis space has been, tarred a little bit with some of these not properly disclosed transactions that ultimately constitute self-dealing to directors and insiders at the expense of retail shareholders. Is that a fair assessment?
That's very fair, and the one concerning thing is a lot of those issues you're referring to that have tarred the cannabis space have come from this one company.
Okay, so what's the play here? Is there, it's not to go long Green Growth and short Aphria or vice versa, is it?
It's really tough to actually short Green Growth Brands and all this. I think this is one of those things where you just stay away, you let things sort themselves out. Personally, I'm not taking any kind of positions right now, and many of my friends and colleagues are also not doing so.
Okay, so let's say that I don't care about the optics and I don't care about the non-disclosed relationships. I'm just looking at the fact that, okay, so if there are insider relationships and but the optics have to satisfy the regulators and the regulations, so therefore, if I'm an Aphria shareholder who is otherwise uninterested in any other aspect, I'm just an Aphria shareholder, a retail shareholder, I want maximum dollar for my share if somebody's going to take me out. I've seen Aphria stock at 20 bucks before. I don't know why it's not there now, except for maybe all of the negative press. So is it the Aphria shareholder who's going to drive Green Growth Brands to tender a higher offer, or to propose a higher offer price, which suggests that, you know, really we should be buying Aphria, and arguably we should be buying Green Growth Brands, because if it's the same guys pulling all the strings on both sides, they have the ability to move the price where they want it to. So isn't there an easy win here on the long side of both companies?
I'll say one thing, that Aphria does have real assets in Canada, absolutely. They're impressive assets. You know, Leamington, I've had some friends tour those facilities. They're very impressive. And I mean, they do have product out and all of that. With that said, the way this structure is actually set up, and we'll see later on as well, is because these various groups have a position already, so the All Jays already has a 20% position in Green Growth Brands, they're already diluting, by acquiring Aphria, they're actually diluting their current shareholders, because they're giving them paper, right, the stock, the Green Growth Brand stock, which there's really not a lot behind, right? There's really just a bit of financing, and you know, we can argue about it, but there's not a lot behind versus some of these other, compared to some of these other MSOs. And so in essence, it's an automatic dilution of Aphria shareholders by at least 20%. And this is before their $150 million investment. So in essence, what they're doing is they're investing, and it's like they're getting into Aphria at a much lower price and diluting the current shareholders. So that's why you should care. And so going back to this deck, because I do want to finish it up before we end this interview, or talk about other things. But All Jays, this Schottenstein's Property Group individual. What's interesting is there's an article, if we can go to the slide, from 2017, where kind of sounds familiar. Officials from a Canadian medical marijuana company say they partnered with a Columbus family known for fashion retailer American Eagle and DSW. Where I think I've heard that before somewhere, and this is from more than a year ago. And then the other thing I would just note is the Schottenstein Aphria LLC is one of the 185 companies. So
there's a company called Schottenstein Aphria LLC?
Yes.
That's pretty blatant.
That's extremely blatant.
Is that just a new form of disclosure? We'll just name everything after ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, they just put it out there. So look, Schottenstein Aphria LLC, this gentleman who heads the Schottenstein Group, which incorporated All Jays, which got the Zenatic or whatever, the shell, to get Green Growth Brands, and is also a 20% investor currently, and is doing the next $150 million round. So if you put it all together, right, this is what it kind of looks like. And honestly, I just put this together right now, like an hour ago. So mind the formatting, but in essence, it's Aphria owns GA Opportunities, Schottenstein's own the All J, and together they make an investment into Schottenstein Aphria LLC, right? And All J also sells this Xanthic, whatever, pharma shell to the Schottenstein Aphria LLC, and then they RTO it into Green Growth Brands, which is now acquiring Aphria.
And how many shares then does Schottenstein and Company control of Green Growth Brands? That's the 150.
That's the that's the All J guys, which they got a good chunk of it through the RTO, because they had the founder shares of the shell.
Wow.
So they acquired the founder shares. So they currently, before their $150 million investment, already own 20% of GGB.
Wow. Interesting and fabulous investigative work. Thank you very much for filling us in there, Dmitry. We'll come back to you as usual again, and by all means, keep up the good work. Thanks for having us. Thanks for being here today. Thanks for having me on your show.
I guess it feels like that. Thanks, James.
It's all right. We're going to the teacher, the factor. We're having a comedy day here. So every day we give you the latest cannabis news, but today Adamo and Sean have some, and shall we say it's a little bit different cannabis news. Here is Sean and Adamo.
In other news today, Vancouver medical dispensaries are scarce.
Vancouver is cracking down on the medical dispensaries and are threatening them with fines and even potential jail time.
In 2016 of April, there was over 100 medical dispensaries within Vancouver, and today there's only 3. For more on this, our own Sean Cookson.
I don't like it.
Okay, well said, Sean. Moving on.
Due to the legalization of cannabis within the state of Michigan, drug-sniffing dogs are facing layoffs as the demand for them has diminished.
Sean, how do you feel about this?
Well, there was a dog that I had when I was younger that used to eat his own poop.
Huh. Okay. Is that it? That's it?
Yes.
All right. In other news, apparently cannabis can enhance your sex life. Luckily for us, we have a cannabis and sex expert, Sean Cookson.
I agree. I am an expert in sex.
How did you get your shirt off so fast? And you mic'd yourself up?
Well, I might be fast taking my shirt off, but I'm not fast in the bedroom. I'm an expert.
All right, well that concludes our segment for today. Back to you guys in studio.
What?
This is just insane today. I think I'm going to have crazy hair every day because clearly
Crazy
this
hair,
is,
yeah.
This is
Hey,
crazy
you know what?
show.
Maybe.
Did you hear what Dimitri's saying about this stuff?
What?
It's like, it's a little bit,
Be careful.
whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know there's some technical science here that.
technical science here. Okay, Edward.
Yes,
sir.
Are we back on?
We're back on.
Watch this.
What?
Through the magic of
You gotta
slow
you gotta
motion.
elevate your
Elevation.
You gotta move your ass.
There
we go. There you go. That's it.
Tall in the chair. Yeah.
Bigger than a friendly giant.
I got little
Your nipples
nipple
hard
action there. Yeah.
Jesus, what happened?
Well, you said something about turds or something. I don't know.
This Ed, there's. I think it was probably the sight of Sean on screen with his shirt off.
Oh. Don't go away, Sean.
But
Don't go away, man. Okay, so look, it's 4:02. Market's already closed. You're laughing. And we got this.
Everybody's running around like a chicken.
This little British guy running around like a chicken with his head cut off.
I know. It's like he's looking.
Is he running away or getting closer to us?
I think he's hunting. I think he's hunting.
Ooh.
He's hunting
A
groundhogs.
suggestion of predator.
We're going to look at the market that is now closed and see what was. Let's talk about what was the real uptake here. Although I just got my back and somebody took my computer away, so I'm going to have to use this one. Oh, it's back. There it is.
There it is.
All right.
Okay.
Because now I can pull up charts on this one, right? Oh, Dmitry was using that one.
Oh.
I have the evidence on this computer now.
What chart do you want me to put up?
You know, I'm going to. No, I'm not going to start with that one. This thing has a dead battery.
Let's look at the one we looked at yesterday that Fraser and I took a real look at.
Which one was that?
It starts with V.
V is in Victor.
Victor WG or VGW, one or the other.
Oh, Valens Grower.
That's it. That's it. What's the symbol?
VGW : CNX.
Colon?
Semicolon. Not colon. Prostate colon. Semicolon.
Okay. Jeeper.
What's going on, Ed?
VGX CNX. Here we go.
Look at that. It's like we're at an internet cafe.
Okay, it's not a valence symbol. It's not VGX. No, it's VGW, damn it.
VGW, that's what I said.
VGW hyphen CNX.
All right. In the meantime, we're looking at...
Okay, whoa, okay, here.
What's...
I'm going to put up a 2-year.
What the hell is going on?
No, this is a company. Now, here.
Oh,
Okay.
this is Valens Grower. Look at that. It's got the whole, it's a dead reflection of the whole cannabis stock performance in the last 3
thing gets a
quarters.
play, and then correction.
Okay, tell me what the highs and lows of that spike are.
350.
350.
And the lows are
No, where's the low at the beginning of that move?
in here,
Well, I can't see where you're pointing.
about $1.
So it had a 3x move in a single day.
3.5x to be a little
in
more.
a single week, and then it sold off back all the way down to $1.
All the way down to $1.
Yeah.
And then all the way back to 335, but a little lower,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And now here we are, very, very overbought again. But you could say that all the way up, so maybe it continues.
What's the RSI look like right now in that stock?
Well, I don't know.
You don't have it set up there.
You know
do
what? I'm leaving it.
All right. So, anyways, Weed Canopy Growth Corp closed the day down a big 10 cents, so barely a move there. Aurora closed the day down 2 cents, barely a move there.
Yeah.
Charlotte's Web closed the day down to a quarter, 1.39%, so a bigger move there. Kronos Group shed 51 cents,
Yeah.
down 2.5%.
Now, Kronos looks like it's starting to retreat a bit.
And HEMCO lost 15 cents. Mind you, they just announced a $50 million financing, so that makes sense.
Take that.
OrganiGram, snot rag off the table.
Get that snot rag off the table.
OrganiGram bolted on 6 cents for almost 1% enhancement. And MedMen, ever the sucker of hind teat, plowing along behind there, lost a penny to 405. TGOT actually added 8 cents today, 305. That's pretty good.
Really?
Yeah, those are the big movers in the Canadian large cap. Now, do you want to know about the smaller cap ones? On the CSE, want to know what happened today?
What happened?
Not much. No, just kidding. The big loser on the CSE today was MMJ. 30.4% loss in value. What caused that, Ed?
MMJ. Now that's one of those that
Maca Enterprises. We've got their internal spray on our desk in there. Did you try that? That might have something to do with it. That stuff would choke a horse. Anyways, I don't know what's going on with the religious people in the control room, but
maybe they're
I've
having
got a trivia question.
Okay, hit me.
Here you go.
All right, time to test your IQ. For regular people, legalized recreational cannabis is a new phenomenon, and many of us are still getting used to being able to enjoy it without worrying about being caught. But for some people, they were secretly using marijuana for work purposes decades ago. So here's our question for you. How was cannabis used by the Office of Strategic Services, a World War II era U.S. intelligence agency? Was it used as a gateway drug? Was it used to assassinate targets? Was it used as a truth serum? Or was it used to frame political enemies? Stick around, we'll have the answer coming up later in the show.
That's okay.
Yeah, we'll be back with that answer in just a second. Joining me now is Jay Wilgar, CEO of Newstrike Brands. Jay, welcome back.
Thank you very much for having me back.
Jay, what's 2019 looking like for Newstrike Brands?
Well, I think 2018 behind us was a very exciting year.
The end of the year sure could have used a different ending.
Well, it could have, yeah. I mean, that wasn't the most exciting part, but 2019 is going to be really big for us. You know, we look at going into the fact that we are one of 7 licensed producers in at least 7 provinces here in Canada, and that's huge for us.
Mm-hmm. We've got you sell in the cannabis store in Ontario, right?
We do. Yeah, that's right.
We just bought some of your cannabis. We're going to.
What did you buy? What did you get?
I can't remember. I was the one who bought it, but I bought it like 2 weeks ago. It just got here.
Fantastic.
And we're actually putting a panel together to sample all of the licensed producers' product, and we're actually going to do a giant bong hit each. And then we're going to interview each other about the quality of the marijuana.
Well, that's a great idea. Well, I will hope that you like our product. I'm sure you do. It's been getting great reviews.
Good.
Certainly our Meridian is the most popular of the dry bud products that we have.
Cool.
But no, we brought some great new staff on. We had an announcement on Monday, some really big hitters from the branding marketing world. Sylvie's joining us in a couple of weeks. Her background is Johnson & Johnson. We just brought on Mark Burton, head of strategy. He's been a CEO of several things himself, a legal background, and a new specialist just in oil production. And our Niagara site, I've got to get you out there. I mean, it is something to see. It's
really? It's ready to go.
Well, it's in production. It's been in production, I guess 3 months now, and then the second phase of it is going to be finished in about 2 more months.
So you've got a crop coming to maturity right now?
We've got crops that are actually through maturity.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah,
we'll come down there. We're looking for some to shoot this week.
Well, if you want to come down, you let me know, and it really is something to see. I mean, it's the Dutch trace system, and
cool.
it's a pretty big site. It's 500,000 square feet.
Yeah, wow.
So, of course, also with our partnership with the Neal brothers, the idea is that we're really diving now into the edible side of things and kind of some of the exciting stuff we're going to do with
when can we actually buy edibles at the Ontario Cannabis Store, do you think?
Again, it's so dependent. We're certainly going to be ready for the fall, if not in advance of that. So we've been really focused on being ready for the edibles market and certainly the vape pen market. We are very active in those two markets right now and making sure that whatever the timeline ends up being, that we're going to be ready for it.
Very cool.
So we're expecting October, I think, next fall is really the timeline.
I'm curious, maybe you can answer one thing for me. So there's all this mainstream media coverage out there suggesting that the shortage of legal cannabis in Canada could persist for years. And I'm having a hard time reconciling that with the growing capacity currently and in 12 months, by which time it goes up actually by like 30% more growing capacity. So if we've got all this capacity and yet the stores are selling out and you can only buy 30 grams at a time.
Sure.
And I'm just curious, why is this discrepancy? That doesn't make sense. You look at the production capacity of all the LPs, we should have no problem.
So it's an interesting point because this has been something we've been discussing from day one, and for me it's been a bit of a frustration because when we as a company have been announcing capacity, we announce what we're actually going to be producing, and we've been very open with our shareholders that Niagara will bring on 17,000 kilograms of capacity that we can produce this year. But the second phase of it, which is being built right now, will bring on another 23,000 by next year. And of course, all of these announcements that we collectively as LPs are making are always subject to Health Canada, to approvals. And that process, I think everyone forgets, that it's not as easy as, hey, guess what, we just opened a greenhouse over here and it's 1 million square feet. We're going to bring all this production on. There really is a process to it. And that's why I'd love you to come down and see it, because the one thing too is think about a greenhouse like ours that was actually there before and was producing plants. We bought that. We're in the process of converting it. You're now training staff that need to be brought up to speed on some pretty serious standard operating procedures, and that's critically important. Training people to trim, training people to grow, getting your packaging line set up. So I'm not surprised by hearing that shortfall may persist much longer than I think people think, because I don't think that most LPs are going to be online with as much capacity as maybe they've indicated as quickly as they will be. Again,
are you saying those forward-looking statements aren't actually going to turn out to be true?
I will not comment on anyone else. I can tell you where I know we're going to be.
Right.
But I will tell you when people, there have been a lot of very big announcements about enormous production facilities.
Yeah.
And I can tell you as the person who is reporting to my shareholders on how quickly I can bring something online, it takes time. It just does. It's hiring the right. And Niagara is a great example. It's a very good sized facility, and we're almost at 200 staff within the company now, and we're going to need another 100 by the summer. What you just don't pull these people out of thin air and teach them how to do it.
Right.
And I think the other thing too is learning how to grow in huge quantities indoors like we are all doing. Again, is tricky. There are things to it that tricks that you need to learn, and as far as certainly keeping quality consistent and all these things. So I think that's another piece. So look, I'm certainly not saying that the forward-looking statements of other companies are incorrect, but I am saying I think that the idea that a shortage may persist for quite some time, I'd stick with that. And I also think that, as I've said actually on the show before, the whole thing is this process, right?
Sure.
Because when I look at our business model, dry bud and selling dry bud is certainly a big part of it, but when I look at the oil side of things and vape pens, we see huge numbers of new customers coming into that market. And quite frankly, a lot of people that probably weren't using that much cannabis before, and I think that's going to create a really interesting upside for what's happening in the industry.
Sure, you bet.
Yeah.
So then tell me about how are your financials shaping up for 2019? You're obviously going to be able to supply more cannabis as the year goes on.
We are, yeah.
Are you in a state yet where you're projecting profitability?
We are. Right now we're looking at fourth quarter next year realistically. We've ramped up our production. Like I said, in Niagara is going to get us to that 17,000 kilogram mark by next year. I think from a balance sheet point of view, Newstrike's in a very strong spot. I mean, we're sitting on about $100 million in cash right now. We have no debt. We own both of our facilities outright. Yep. So once we do a few things that I'm working on, as well as finishing off what's happening in Niagara, we're still going to be sitting on a really, really strong balance sheet, and then we look at some really good revenues for the year. So sure. I think 2019 is going to be really exciting, quite frankly, in the from the point of view of products. And the point of view of seeing how companies actually start generating the revenues that we've been talking about. And we certainly think we're going to be there.
Do you have any ambition towards a global sort of play in any other jurisdictions?
So we do, and I've always stuck to the messaging, and I think it's important that nobody is killing it in Canada yet. Nobody. And I would say that across the board. And so what we continue to look at is the fact that we are one of very few people that or very few companies that have really national coverage when it comes to provinces. So I want to make sure that we're executing correctly in each one of these provinces before I get too excited about going off and doing things internationally. We've got a lot of opportunity. We continue to look internationally. But the funny stat is if you look at third quarter last year, LPs combined in Canada only exported around 800 kilograms of product. So if you compare, the size of the actual market right now in Canada, which is again not yet even serviced, and look at opportunities internationally, our view is really let's make sure that we are good at what we're doing right here first before we run off and try and do things everywhere else. With certainly with an eye to those other places. Yep. I see opportunities certainly in Europe and UK. South America I think is interesting, but again, from a regulatory point of view, we've got, in my view, the strongest regulations right here at this moment, and I think it's also the most exciting market in my view.
Sure. The recent lottery in Ontario that awarded 25 licenses to 24 different individuals, which from our perspective is probably 20 bankruptcies and 5 new stores. Right. What in that process do you think is going to be the outcome in terms of new physical locations to buy cannabis in Ontario?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing is we certainly understand what the government was doing from the get-go and trying to get privatized retail outlets. And I think, quite frankly, from our point of view, I think it's going to create an interesting opportunity for us to get products out to the consumers. But again, I think it's going to be bumpy for the next little while. We're going to see this this transition from an online system that I think is working but still undersupplied to a group of retail stores that, again, from a management point of view and from the aspects of an actual business, we're not sure how those are going to run. Sure. We don't know, yet what that shelf space is going to look like. So I think, and I think I continue to say the same thing, that even that aspect of the business is going to take time and it's going to evolve, because we know darn well we're going to go to hundreds of retail locations in Ontario, and ultimately competition is going to win out. We are going to see retail stores that people like. We're going to see products in those stores that people like and are attracted to, and ultimately that's what at Newstrike we're banking on. We're banking on the fact that customers are going to want to start having brands that they associate with, and they're going to want to buy it in retail locations that they like. So it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be frustrating for certain people, and even when you see these municipalities that are opting out now of having cannabis stores in their municipalities, to me, that's not solving an issue that you think you might have. Right. I think, quite frankly, it's a political thing that doesn't make that much sense.
A moral statement, as well.
I guess so, yeah.
As an LP operator, are you confident that the sort of process to allow retail stores fronts, actual physical locations, will eventually be extended to LPs beyond their single store allotment?
I don't know. I think the way they're rolling it out right now is very calculated, and it's not entirely illogical in the thinking of let's try and get others into the industry. certainly I think there is some logic in my mind if they're allowing us to have one flagship type store, and we certainly understand the products and we understand the supply chains and whatnot. There's some logic in my view of also having us, even if it's a percentage like it is elsewhere. To me, that's logical. Whether they go that route or not, I don't know. And we certainly continue to work very closely with the provincial governments as it relates to retail. But right now, again, the focus is, in our view, whatever retail environment we are in this country, let's make sure we've got a suite of products that Canadians want to use and that they can identify with and that they actually want. Because I think that's the other key thing is I think a lot of people still don't know what it is they want yet.
You bet.
So we're trying to make things that are attractive to people. And it's in 2019, I think you're going to see a lot of, certainly from us, some really interesting things rolled out that are going to excite a lot of people.
Okay, well that's great, Jay. We're going to leave it there for now. We'll have you back soon.
Thank you very much.
For joining me.
Always a pleasure.
Up next is the answer to our trivia question.
All right, earlier in the show, we told you that cannabis was used by the Office of Strategic Services, and our question to you was, how was it used? Was it a gateway drug? Was it used to assassinate targets? Was it used as a truth serum? Or was it used to frame political enemies? Well, the answer is a truth serum. The Office of Strategic Services formed during World War II at their lab at St. Elizabeth's Hospital in Washington, D.C. A concentrated form of marijuana was deemed the most effective truth serum available. In 1943, the drug was given via cigarettes to Augusto Del Gracio, an enforcer with New York Mafia boss Lucky Luciano, who subsequently revealed details of the group's heroin selling operation. Now that's something to think about.
Now that implies that toast is actually a dairy product.
Well, no, but
we were just talking about eggs.
Toast?
And eggs.
So
toast and eggs
did
and butter.
you know they refer to eggs as dairy?
Yeah.
I don't get that.
No, me either.
Like, I think that's bullshit.
Doesn't dairy imply milk? And chickens don't give milk, nor do cows lay eggs.
Jesus. So I used to be called the Eggman. The Egg Boy.
Cause I'm the Eggman. Yeah, I'm your Eggman.
This you know what? This is a horse blanket. We've been talking about the farm. I'm wearing my horse blanket.
I'm getting yelled at by God. I can't hear him.
I'm wearing an Where's my
It's what?
Jesus.
Yeah,
watch this. I should wrap it around twice.
God's trying to talk to you and you're trying to ignore it.
Let me just wrap it around. It'll give the illusion of a cauliflower ear. Look at
a cauliflower ear.
Ed, you've been wrestling?
You make some phone calls with that. Anyways, so I'm looking at
can we get back to, oh, jeez, what the hell are you doing?
She's pulling down your shirt. You look like a bit of a hunchback there.
Pull it up.
Pull it up. Pull it out. Get it off. Now, hey, watch it. This is a professional environment
here. A little toilet tongue action here?
Oh, you know, we're going to have hashtags left, right, and center. You know,
all kinds of hashtags.
People will be suing us 10 years from now saying, oh, that Ed, he molested me. He let me touch his sweater. Bastard.
Okay.
Lecherous old.
We're still on the air.
Oh, that's right. We're back.
Geez, you're a little punch drunk right now, aren't you?
I'm not drunk at all.
But you're punch drunk.
What does that mean? I got punched in the head? So
no, you're sort of like you're punchy.
Yeah, I don't. You know, I drank tea for breakfast or for lunch today.
But not at dinner.
No, I don't drink tea at dinner.
Did you drink any wine on your excursion?
To Vancouver?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. We drank some large format bottles of wine. Let's just say. Large format. That means when they cram, you know, the bottles get like this big, and it's like, watch the girl pour them. I'm like, really, you're going to pour that in with some elegant flourish? I'd like to see this. Anyway.
What's a plum?
With a plum, no, it's not a plum. It's a, oh, look who's here.
Who?
It's Mac Daddy Market making Donnie G. Yo, Donnie in the house.
Donnie in the house. Donnie in the house.
Donnie in the house. Donnie in the house. Anyway, so yeah, we're going to be, we just got a delivery of 7 products.
Did you bring one with you?
I brought, well, all 7 are here. I'm not going to show them right now because we're going to have an unboxing ceremony. So we got 3.5 grams of houndstooth from Tweed, which cost us $35.15, or almost exactly $10 a gram. Isn't that interesting?
How much a gram?
$10.
Is that cheap?
$10 a gram. If you were to buy an ounce, that's 28 grams. That would be $280 an ounce. Even at the height of the black market, cops turning a blind eye in the late 90s, early 90s.
250.
You'd sell you'd sell a pound of weed for $3,000 if it was like dried perfectly and it was killer. You could get $3,000.
Is that what you sold it for?
Well, I'd try to get 32 because we'd try.
Well, you're a bit greedy.
Greedy? No, we just we prided ourselves.
Sell it for $2,800. Why'd you give them a deal? You'd sell more.
No, actually,
no one's buying your product.
It wasn't about a deal. It was like according to what the availability was in the market in total. So because there was, of course, no above ground cannabis available, there would be times where, there'd be no great cannabis around, and so the price would go up over $3,000. Other times there'd be tons of cannabis around. Like the worst time to sell a pound of weed in British Columbia was usually September, October, because all the outdoor harvests were coming in and competing with the indoor market.
Yeah.
Whereas the best time to sell a pound of weed was like January, February, because most of the potheads partied their faces off during Christmas and lost a third of their crop to spider mites, and so that would be a good time to have a pound. Anyways, my point being, I digress. At $3,000 per pound, 454 grams, how much is that per gram?
$3,000 pound, 454 grams. So 454 into 3,000.
Yeah, so 454 divided by 3,000. Let's see if Google can tell us this. Oops, that's a plus sign.
$7 a gram.
$7 a gram. Okay, so this is my point.
$6.50 to $7.
At the height of the black market 20 years ago, you could get, that's a wholesale price.
Okay, so you're saying that was the best, that was a pound though. If you bought it by, let's say you just bought it by the gram, they'd probably really rifle you.
Well, I remember that, so the standard price for a quarter ounce back in the 90s was like, a quarter ounce would be like $70 max. $50 would be a great price. So an eighth of an ounce, which is 3.5 grams, the average price would be $35. So this is what's interesting to me, is that the store price for cannabis is exactly what the street price was before this whole thing got started.
So you're saying there's no way you're going to get cheap cannabis?
Well, if you buy it from the illegitimate sources,
it's cheaper.
Believe me, like John Fowler from Supreme famously says, he's never been to a party where somebody walks in and says, hey, who's got the cheap stuff? You always walk in and say, hey, who's got the good stuff? Especially in the world of premium cannabis, people are not interested in cheap, they want good. So now the most expensive cannabis we bought.
I got a counterpoint to make to that.
Okay, you want to make that point before I move on?
So let's say you like to have a few cocktails.
Yeah.
Well, you ever notice that the guys that are real hard-nosed drinkers, they tend to find out where the happy hours are?
Well, no, that's the cheap bastards.
No, they're being economic.
No. Like it's the same. Like I don't like to go where it's happy hour if it's going to be packed and it's going to take you 20 minutes to get a beer. I'd rather pay normal bar price and know that it's not going to be unduly packed and I can have a beer right away.
That would defeat the purpose if you had to wait that long to get a beer. How could they sell any beers?
Well, because they're selling to cheap bastards, not serious drunks.
I don't know.
Serious drunk wants a beer now.
People are attracted to the happy hour.
Really?
I think so. Well, I am.
All right. Show of hands in the audience, the live studio audience.
Okay.
Who loves, God loves cheap beer? Simon, cheap beer or fast beer?
Cheap or fast?
Cheap. Cheap. Okay, I'm pretty sure we go with anybody from the United Kingdom, we're going to get cheap. God informed me that they're not from the United Kingdom. I'm going over to
happy hour at a little later here.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, $5 a drink. $5 a drink. Where's that?
Jesus.
Mercado.
Oh, Mercado for the cheap shit.
I'll be there in the flesh.
I might come with you. So tomorrow we're going to have Tweed Houndstooth, 3.5 grams. We're going to smoke 3.5 grams of Tangerine Dream, San Rafael, which was Med Relief. We're going to smoke another 3.5 grams of Soleil, which is sun-gried, sun-loved, 3.5 grams. That's 48 North Cannabis now. We're going to smoke 3.5 grams of Cove Reflect, which is actually Kronos Group's cannabis. And then we're going to finish it off with 3.5 grams of, oh no, we're not going to finish it off. Then we're going to smoke 3.5 grams of White Widow from 7 Acres, John Fowler's company. We're going to smoke 3.5 grams of San Fernando Valley from Weed MD. Then we're going to finish it off with 3.5 grams of Ghost Train Haze from Aurora. So to say we're going to be high as fuck is not an understatement. This is all going to be brought to you tomorrow. Also coming up tomorrow, we have Clint Sharples here from Heritage Cannabis to tell us how it's going with their big launch. And Warren Bravo is here from Green Relief. Green Relief is the company that grows aquaponically, which means they grow with fish as fertilizers and cleaners of water and providers of fish and chips at lunch for the staff.
So you're saying...
I'm saying that we're going to have some weed and fish and chips.
So instead of having
tomorrow.
fish and chips, you have...
Finch and chips.
Fish shit and chips.
What? Finch and chimps. That's birds and monkeys. Also, Koyo's CEO founder, Chris Miller is going to be here. And it says Dmitry Zaytsev is going to be here tomorrow, but I'm pretty sure we just had him, so he probably won't be here tomorrow. Anyways, that concludes our illustrious entertainment event for today. We didn't get around to talking to you beautiful audience people, but on the flight home last night, I was thinking, you know what? It's the audience that makes this all possible. So thank you all for watching. I sincerely mean that. We really do appreciate it. And please don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification tab if you want to receive our stuff. We're relaunching the newsletter in 2019. This is basically the journal of best-in-class public companies in all sectors from among the Canadian small caps. And oh, we've got so much coming up, I just can't. I'm so excited, I just can't hide it. I know, I want you, I want you, I want you,
What did you do with the money your mother gave you for singing lessons?
Bought a guitar. Thanks for joining us, see you tomorrow.
See you later, everybody.